Hello everyone, I'm Michael Serapio. Late this afternoon, the Trudeau Liberals expanded the list of prohibited guns in this country as the government tries to make good on its promise to bring in the strongest gun control laws in generations. Back in 2020, Ottawa banned more than 1,500 assault-style weapons. In 2022, it froze the sales of handguns and today added additional measures.
The government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately.
Now, the Liberals had been criticized for moving too slowly on their gun control promises, including criticism from the families and survivors of the massacre at Montreal's École Polytechnique, where 14 women were killed and 10 other women injured.
And we have to name it for what it was. It was a femicide. We were shot. My colleagues were killed. I was wounded because I was a woman studying in engineering.
Now, tomorrow does mark the 35th anniversary of the shootings at École Polytechnique. And joining us right now is the Minister of Procurement and the Prime Minister's Quebec Lieutenant, Jean-Yves Duclos. Minister, thank you for taking the time.
Good evening, Michael, and good evening to everyone listening.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I want to begin with your reasonings for adding these weapons to the prohibited list. Is there any proof that these classifications of weapons have actually been linked to crimes or been used in cases of intimate partner violence?
Well, proofs, yes, of course. You just mentioned 35 years ago, but we saw similar guns, assault-style rifles used in New Brunswick, in Nova Scotia, just a few years ago, in Collège Dawson in Montreal about 10 years ago, in my own city, in Quebec City, in the mosque in 2017. These have devastating impacts on communities and on families. And besides that, the vast majority of people impacted by armed domestic violence are women. Hundreds of women impacted by armed domestic violence every year in Canada, plus the insecurity, the stress, and the trauma that comes with that. You listen to me like I did to the press conference today. You could feel how tragic these events had been and how tragic the situation continues to be with the increasing amounts of femicides in Canada over the recent years.
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying, but we did reach out to the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights, and they basically expressed their concern that what is happening here is a purely political move, that your government is taking a tough on guns approach to distract from other problems that your government faces. What do you say to that?
We've been doing this for years, and since we've been elected in 2015, and Canadians demand that too. The vast majority of Canadians want better arms control. They understand that hunters and others are law-abiding Canadians. They follow law, they abide by the law, but there are assault-style rifles in Canada whose design is intended to be formed for actual war zone. Now, some of the weapons we announced today can be used in Ukraine. The Ukrainian government has demonstrated an interest for these firearms to be used on the battlefield against Russia. They have no place on our streets in Canada, in our homes either. That's why we have, the RCMP has identified them as needed to be prohibited.
Mm-hmm. Now, your amnesty period extends to October of 2025, but of course by then there could be a change in government. Are you moving too late if you actually wanted this legislation to have a lasting impact?
Well, we've been investing in arms control and protecting Canadians and supporting the security of our towns and cities for many, many years. Now, you are correct. In the next few months, in a year, in 5 years, perhaps in 10 years from now, there will be a new government. The Conservative Party, in particular, and the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, need to tell Canadians whether they would want to bring us back. This is progress that the vast majority of Canadians is supporting. Pierre Poilievre needs to say clearly whether he would like if he had the opportunity, whether he would like to bring us back in a world where there would be less security, and in a world in particular where assault-style rifles would become legal again.
Mm-hmm. Now, this expanded list of prohibited weapons, they're going to be eligible for the gun buyback program introduced by your government years ago. But you know, that program's already cost over, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, $67 million. But as of September, not a single gun has been collected. What do you say to the concerns that there might not be the system in place for people to actually get compensation back for the weapons that they will surrender?
Well, we just announced that today. We were able to tell Canadians today that since the beginning of November, the Phase 1 gun buyback program, Phase 1 because it deals with shops across Canada that have been holding these prohibited firearms now for almost 5 years. We have now started to collect them back and to transport them and to destroy. This pilot program has been going on since the beginning of November. It's been successful, and that's why today we are able to announce the full implementation of the Phase 1 program for shops and stores. In early 2025, we'll be launching the Phase 2 program, which will be for individuals. So those individuals that have bought these assault-style rifles completely legally and legitimately a few years ago, or sometimes decades ago, they followed the law then. Now these guns will soon be illegal to own, and that's why we are going to put into place that gun buyback program early in 2025, so that those totally legitimately owning gun owners can get compensated for the guns that they purchased a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. You know, just before we began our conversation, I noted the fact that your government had been criticized for moving too slowly, in particular from families who lost loved ones at École Polytechnique, from survivors of École Polytechnique. I'm wondering what message you hope your government is sending to them tonight with this expanded regulation.
Well, I invite everyone listening to listen to the press conference. They will be able to hear directly and emotionally the messages that these women, and most of them are women, have been sharing with us tonight. They are obviously pointing to all of the significant progress that we're able to announce today. They're also rightly pointing to the importance of continuing that progress and certainly not going back, as unfortunately some of the opposition leaders would like to do if they don't change their mind. So they are saying, yes, there is always more to do, but today is something major, something very important, because we are putting into place not only the launch of Phase 1, now the update of the list of assault-style rifle, but we're also putting into place, starting next week, an evergreen way of updating the list of assault-style rifles through what is called technically a reference table that will always be governed by the RCMP. It's the expertise of the RCMP that has been used today, and the expertise of the RCMP that will be used now onwards to update that list of firearms. It's not the job of politicians to do that particular task.
And we wait for that further details of that next week. But for tonight, Minister Duclos, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.